Nutrition. The purpose of this presentation is to provide health and fitness professionals with a fundamental overview of proper nutrition and how it influences body composition alteration, performance enhancement, and overall health. Following this presentation, you'll be able to provide an overview of proper nutrition, describe the macronutrients and how they relate to the human body, describe how nutrition influences body composition, and review common dietary myths. There are an increasing number of overweight and obese people in the United States. A desire for a quick solution for weight loss has led to the mystification of exercise and diet and an environment ripe for promoters of quick weight loss methods and fad diets. Sorting through this pile of myths and inaccuracies makes the health and fitness professional's job a daunting one. Clients are coming to the health club with preconceived ideas about how they should be eating. These ideas may hinder their progress and have negative health consequences. The facts about weight loss and gain are quite simple. Eat fewer calories than are expended, and there will be a reduction in weight. Conversely, consume more calories than are expended, and there will be an increase in weight, otherwise known as the law of thermodynamics. Today's environment provides a constantly available, palatable food supply, increasing energy intake, and promotes a sedentary lifestyle, reducing energy expenditure. The facts are that we eat too much and move too little. The combination is causing America's waistline to expand. The following modules address the macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, fat, and water, their uses and recommendations, and will explore many common myths. These topics will be addressed as they relate to the common goals of altering body composition and increasing performance. First, let's define nutrition and review the benefits of proper nutrition. Nutrition is defined as the sum of the processes by which an animal or plant takes in and utilizes food substances. An understanding of nutrition will be vital to the success of the health and fitness professional's clients. The proper nutrition strategy has the ability to hasten the results from the stimulus of exercise, improve health and athletic performance, reduce the risk of disease and illness, increase energy levels, and favorably alter body composition. Protein. The first macronutrient we'll discuss is protein. The primary function of protein is to build and repair body tissues and structures. It's also involved in the synthesis of hormones, enzymes, and other regulatory peptides. Additionally, protein can be used for energy, 4 calories per gram, if calories or carbohydrate are insufficient in the diet. Proteins are made up of amino acids linked together by peptide bonds. The body uses approximately 20 amino acids to build its many different proteins. There are 2 general classes of amino acids, essential and non-essential. Essential amino acids cannot be manufactured in the body or are manufactured in insufficient amounts. Therefore, they must be obtained from the food supply or some other exogenous source. The second group of amino acids is termed non-essential because the body is able to manufacture them from dietary nitrogen and fragments of carbohydrate and fat. If a food supplies all of the essential amino acids in appropriate ratios, it is called a complete protein. Food that supplies all essential amino acids in appropriate ratios include meat, poultry, fish, and dairy. If a food source is low or lacking in one or more essential amino acid, it is called an incomplete protein. Food sources low or lacking in one or more essential amino acids include vegetables, fruit, grains, and legumes. Factors that affect one's protein requirements include exercise and caloric intake. Both anaerobic and aerobic exercise affect protein requirements in different ways. Exercise increases the oxidation of amino acids as well as the rate of protein turnover in lean body mass during recovery. Because protein can be used for tissue repair and synthesis as well as for energy, protein requirements will increase as total energy intake decreases. As total caloric intake is reduced, energy needs may no longer be satisfied by carbohydrate and fat intake alone, necessitating that protein be used to provide energy. The goal is to satisfy the majority of energy needs with carbohydrate and fat, saving protein for tissue repair and growth. This is why carbohydrates are often referred to as protein sparing. If one does not eat adequate amounts of carbohydrate and/or fat, more protein will be used for energy by default. The recommended dietary allowance for protein intake is 0.8 grams per kilogram per day. However, this may be too low for some recreational athletes or health club members. For individuals who are exercising and are in an adaptation period, or they are physically changing, 1.2 to 1.8 grams per kilogram per day may be a more appropriate recommendation to meet the demands of the activity they're engaging in. The general recommendation is 15 to 30% of total caloric intake should come from protein. High-protein diets have become common in the fitness industry today. For our purposes, a high-protein diet is defined as one that consists of more than 30% of total caloric intake from protein, or 3 times the protein RDA for athletes. Chronic consumption of a high-protein diet is generally associated with a higher intake of saturated fat and low fiber intake, both of which are risk factors for heart disease and some types of cancer. Also, the kidneys are required to work harder to eliminate the increased urea produced. Other reported side effects of excess protein intake include calcium depletion, fluid imbalance, eventual hunger, slower metabolism, weight rebound, and energy loss. Carbohydrates. Now we'll discuss carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a chief source of energy for all body functions and muscular exertion and yield 4 calories per gram. For most moderately active adults, a carbohydrate intake of 50 to 70% is recommended. Carbohydrates are compounds containing carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and are generally classified as sugars, or simple carbohydrates, starches, or complex carbohydrates, and fiber. One of the greatest contributions made by dietary complex carbohydrate is fiber. Higher intakes of dietary fiber are associated with lower incidence of heart disease and certain types of cancer. Recommended daily intake of dietary fiber is 25 grams. Fiber also provides bulk to the diet, which can help control caloric ingestion, and regulates the body's absorption of glucose, which may be beneficial for individuals with diabetes. The rate at which ingested carbohydrate raises blood sugar and its accompanying effect on insulin release is referred to as the glycemic index. The glycemic index for a food is determined when the particular food is consumed by itself and on an empty stomach. However, mixed meals of protein, other carbohydrate, and fat can alter the glycemic effect of single foods. Some fad diets place too much emphasis on the glycemic index, stating that foods with a higher GI lead to fat storage regardless of caloric intake. This leads to categorizing foods as good or bad based solely on their GI value. As stated earlier, weight gain or loss is related to total energy intake, not the source of the food eaten. Carbohydrate availability is vital for maximal sports performance. When performing high-intensity, short-duration activity, muscular demand for energy is provided for and dependent upon muscle glycogen. During endurance exercise performed at a moderate intensity, muscle glycogen provides approximately 50% of energy needs. A carbohydrate-rich diet will build glycogen stores and aid in performance and recovery. Approximately 60% of caloric intake is recommended for individuals participating in endurance exercise. Complex carbohydrates such as whole grains and fresh fruits and vegetables should comprise the majority of calories due to their nutrient-dense nature. It's recommended that the individual consume a high carbohydrate meal 2 to 3 hours prior to exercising for more than an hour. Some research recommends a carbohydrate intake of 1 to 4.5 grams per kilogram between 1 and 4 hours prior to exercise, respectively. If this is not feasible due to time constraints, a liquid meal, such as a meal replacement formula, may be used. Smaller meals or liquid snacks should be consumed closer to the exercise session to prevent gastrointestinal distress and ensure glycogen refueling. In endurance exercise of greater than a 90-minute duration, muscle glycogen stores become depleted. This depletion limits the performance of endurance exercise. Carbohydrate loading, also called glycogen supercompensation, is a technique used to increase muscle glycogen prior to an endurance event. An example would include a 6-day loading schedule in which the individual would ingest 4 grams per kilogram of body weight 4 to 6 days before the event. When an individual reaches 3 days out, They would increase their carbohydrate intake to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight up to the day before the event. This method has shown to be just as effective as other, more aggressive methods of carbohydrate loading with less side effects. For exercise lasting more than 1 hour, carbohydrate feedings during exercise can help supply glucose to working muscles whose glycogen stores are dwindling. It is recommended that endurance athletes consume between 30 and 60 grams of carbohydrate every hour to accomplish this. Popular sports beverages are perfect for this goal and have the added benefit of replacing fluid losses, also benefiting performance. Repeated days of strenuous exercise take a toll on an individual's glycogen stores. Consuming 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight of carbohydrate within 30 minutes of completing exercise is recommended to maximize glycogen replenishment. Delaying carbohydrate intake by even 2 hours can decrease total muscle glycogen synthesis by 66%. Additional meals of 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight of carbohydrate every 2 hours are recommended to completely restore muscle glycogen. Carbohydrate should generally make up the highest percentage of macronutrient calories when one is attempting fat loss or muscle gain. Carbohydrates provide variety, valuable nutrients, and volume to the diet. The satiating value, or sense of being full, of complex carbohydrate is especially important when one is in a caloric deficit for the goal of fat loss. For most moderately active adults, a carbohydrate intake of between 50 and 70% is recommended. This will provide sufficient food volume and the fuel necessary for energy and productive workouts. Lipids. The next group of macronutrients are lipids, or fats. Lipids are a group of compounds that include triglycerides, phospholipids, and sterols. Of the lipids contained in food, 95% are fats and oils. In the body, 99% of the stored lipids are also triglycerides. Structurally, triglycerides are 3 fatty acids attached to a glycerol backbone. These fatty acids may be unsaturated or saturated. Unsaturated fatty acids may be further classified according to their degree of unsaturation. If the fatty acid has 1 double bond in its carbon chain, it is called a monounsaturated fatty acid. If there is more than 1 point of unsaturation, it is classified as a polyunsaturated fatty acid. Monounsaturated fatty acids found in olive and canola oils, and polyunsaturated fatty acids such as omega-3 fatty acids found in cold water fish like salmon are considered to have favorable effects on blood lipid profiles and may play a role in the treatment and prevention of heart disease, hypertension, arthritis, and cancer. Saturated fatty acids are implicated as a risk factor for heart disease because they raise bad cholesterol levels, low-density lipoproteins, or LDLs, while unsaturated fats are associated with increases in good cholesterol, high-density lipoproteins, or HDLs, and decreased risk of heart disease. These types of fats are characterized as being hard at room temperature and are commonly found in foods such as animal meat, lard, and butter. Another prevalent fatty acid in today's food supply is trans fatty acids, the result of hydrogenation, or the process of adding hydrogen to unsaturated fatty acids to make them harder at room temperature and increase food shelf life. Trans fatty acids have been shown to increase LDL cholesterol and decrease HDL cholesterol, much like saturated fats. Lipids, or fats, are the most concentrated source of energy in the diet. 1 gram of fat yields approximately 9 calories when oxidized, furnishing more than twice the calories per gram of carbohydrates or proteins. In addition to providing energy, fats act as carriers for the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Fats are involved in the following: cellular membrane structure and function, precursors to hormones, organ protection, and they help to prolong the digestive process by slowing gastric emptying. Clients must be satiated by the amount of calories necessary to allow fat loss or energy balance, or they will eventually overeat. Our goal is to keep the client's diet within the guidelines for health. If the goal is fat loss or to enhance overall health, a diet containing 10 to 30% of calories from fat is recommended. Higher fat diets are not conducive to successful weight loss or maintenance and appear to increase the ease with which the body converts ingested calories to body fat. Water. The last macronutrient to review is water. On average, an individual should drink approximately 96 ounces, or 3 quarts of water per day. Those participating in a fat loss program should drink an additional 8 ounces of water for every 25 pounds they carry above their ideal weight. Water intake should also be increased if an individual is exercising briskly or residing in a hot climate. Water constitutes approximately 60% of the adult human body by weight. Studies have shown that a fluid loss of even 2% of body weight will adversely affect circulatory functions and decrease performance levels. Consuming an adequate amount of water will benefit the body in the following ways. It improves endocrine gland function, increases the percentage of fat used for energy purposes, decreases appetite, distributes nutrients throughout the body efficiently, regulates body temperature, and maintains blood volume. The importance of proper hydration cannot be stressed enough. The body cannot adapt to dehydration, which impairs every physiological function. The effects of dehydration include decreased blood volume, decreased performance, decreased blood pressure, decreased sweat rate, decreased blood flow to the skin, decreased cardiac output, increased heart rate, increased perceived exertion, and increased use of muscle glycogen. Guidelines for fluid replacement in the athlete or health club member are as follows. Consume 16 ounces of fluid 2 hours prior to exercise. An additional 8 to 16 ounces may be required if exercising in warm weather. Drink 20 to 40 ounces of fluid for every hour of exercise. Fluid should be cool due to rapid gastric emptying. If exercise exceeds 60 minutes, use of a sports drink containing up to 8% carbohydrate can replace both fluid and dwindling muscle glycogen stores. If exercise is less than 60 minutes, water is the best choice for fluid replacement. Ingest 20 ounces of fluid for every pound of body weight lost after exercise, especially if rapid rehydration is necessary. Summary. In summary, let's take all of the information provided and apply it to 2 of the most common goals health club members want to attain: fat loss and/or muscle gain. First, let's start with the goal of fat loss. First and foremost, one must consume less calories than they are expending. Distribute protein, carbohydrate, and fat throughout the day and at each meal. Choose whole grains and fresh vegetables over refined grains and simple sugars, as the fiber and complexity of the starch will aid in hunger control. Schedule no fewer than 4 and as many as 6 meals a day. This helps to control hunger, minimize blood sugar fluctuations, and increase energy levels throughout the day. Avoid empty calories and highly processed foods, which contain many calories and do little to provide satiety. Drink 8 to 12 cups of water per day, and have clients weigh and measure food for at least 1 week. This will make them more aware of caloric values and serving sizes, as well as decrease the likelihood of under-reporting calories. Some basic nutritional guidelines to increase lean body mass include consuming the same amount or more calories than expended to meet the energy demands of weight training. Eat 4 to 6 meals a day. Insulin response to a meal can stimulate protein synthesis. Spread protein intake throughout the day to take advantage of the previous tip. Keep in mind the post-workout window of opportunity. Ingestion of protein and carbohydrate within 90 minutes of a workout will increase recovery and protein synthesis, maximizing gains. This may be most easily accomplished with a liquid meal replacement formula that can be absorbed quickly. Food may take several hours to digest and absorb, missing the window. Do not neglect the importance of carbohydrate and fat. It takes more than protein to increase lean body mass.